Hey guys, welcome back to the Creepy Cascadia podcast. I, as always, am Sammy, your host, one of your hosts, and I'm joined by my sexy co host, Adam,
Hey,
aka my husband,
hey, hey,
my person,
hey, hey,
my soulmate.
hey, hey.
Adam, how you doing today?
I'm doing okay.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's Monday. Feels like we haven't recorded in a while.
we have not recorded in a while.
Okay.
We were on vacation, and then I got sick, and it hurt to talk, which my
Yeah.
throat still hurts, but it's not as bad.
Yeah.
So I can talk for short
Yeah.
for short periods of time. I was going to say for short extended periods of time.
Shorter little bursts of time that are extended.
That's not a thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we've been it's been a hot minute since we've been in the pod room.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like I said room very weird.
Rim.
We've been in the pod
Room.
room.
Pod room. Very
Room.
Britishish.
Yeah. Mhm.
You're
Britishish.
Joyzy. You're Joyzy.
Joyzy. Get your khakis. That's Bastin. Your cousin from Boston.
Who works out in the pod room. I don't know. I don't think I did that one right. But
It's okay. It's the way we laugh.
yeah.
Speaking of laughing, we got some messages about our last episode.
Yeah, I hope
The
people enjoyed the
bloops.
outtakes.
Yeah, and that's literally just a sliver of what we do because we make each other laugh a lot, and I also trip over my words a lot. So there's lots that goes into the bloopers that doesn't make the final cut.
You were cracking up,
I was
like
cracking
cutting
up.
it, like it was.
I like literally was like sitting on the couch shaking because I was laughing so hard while Adam was watching TV and I had the headphones on and I was editing, and he like looked over and he's like, "What are you laughing at?" And I'm like, "Our fucking episode." And then I let him listen and he started laughing really hard too.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was the farting episode, the farting clip. Yes, I
Yeah.
think that made that in.
Where you get the hot butthole.
Yeah, the unclear if poop came out
Yeah.
part. Yeah. So if you haven't listened to the episode, you're missing out.
Yeah, you are. Real highbrow humor in that one.
Yeah. Dick and fart jokes over here.
We are 12-year-old boys, essentially.
Yeah.
We have the sense of humor of 12-year-old boys.
Yeah.
Yep. That's why we're so good together. We haven't recorded in a while, and Adam had a friend reach out about his episode.
Yeah, the South Dakota killer.
Yeah.
Yeah, piece of shit.
Piece of fucking shit.
Yeah, so my friend reached out, said he actually lived like about a mile away from Piper, and he said his dad actually worked at the John Morrell's meatpacking plant
With the killer, right?
with the killer. Yeah, with Robert Leroy Anderson. You know, remember he was like the maintenance guy. My friend's dad, like, knew him. You know, and so like when stuff went down, they were like, "Oh snap," you know. I think probably a lot of people at that plant were like, "Oh, that's who was killing people," you know.
I wonder if they were like,
And
yeah, that checks out.
that's kind of what I asked. I asked my buddy to ask his dad about like,
Was anybody surprised?
yeah, was that a surprise? Was it not a surprise? He said his dad said didn't really remember anything like that.
Yeah.
You know, he did say that his dad called the cops because living a mile away. I don't I don't know quite the specifics, but his dad said that he thought maybe Piper's remains were on his property.
Oh, man.
And he said the cops never came and checked it out. Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know how many tips you're getting or what the deal is, but I mean, like, and he didn't go into specifics on like why his dad thought that.
I was going to say, I shouldn't say shitty police work because there could be like, maybe, the police didn't have enough hard evidence to warrant coming out and digging up somebody's backyard or whatever.
Right.
Depending on, what they had and what they're... Because there's things in investigations that police know that we don't know. So they might have an idea of something, but, like, they're like, yeah, no, it's not.
I mean, it's like, hey, police, there's this like weird like 3x6 disturbed piece of dirt mound out on my lawn. Do you think you want to come look at that? I mean, it's
Did you recently bury a dog? No.
no,
Sure didn't.
we did not. No pets have died at this house for at least a year.
Oh, man. So, okay. Sidebar.
But don't tell me about
No,
pets.
not
Dying.
mine. So I had the dentist today, right?
Okay.
And I had a new hygienist.
Okay.
She was very nice. I really liked her. I really liked my other one too, but yeah. Anyways, so she's talking to me. She's asking me, like, do you have any kids? Because this is the first time I've had her.
Yeah.
I was like, no, we just have two, cats. And she's like, oh, I have two daughters. And she's like, we had a dog. And then she started telling me about how they had to put their dog to sleep right before Christmas. And all I could think of was, like, Rufus,
Yeah.
And she was like, went into detail about what happened. And, like, but she did highly recommend the vet that they went to because she's
Okay.
the whole thing was she said her little 2-year-old wants to get a cat. And I'm like, oh my God, cats are the best. She's like, she's not gentle enough for a cat quite yet.
Right.
And I was like, oh, I understand that. Yep,
Yeah.
yep. But she said her husband really wants to get a cat because it feels weird in their house that they don't have a pet. And they've always had, like, their dog.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But it was, like, making me almost feel like I was going to tear up because I just started thinking about what is going to happen when our babies go.
Well, I was gonna say it's interesting that they're going from a dog to a cat. Like,
Yeah.
I think some people do that. Like the last pet is a little tough.
And if
So
you
I guess
have,
what I'm saying is we get a dog. We get a dog when one of our cats or both of our cats go.
well, also I think too, if they have 2 kids, they're probably busy. A cat's easier than a dog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can see the husband complaining like, it's a kid's dog, but I'm the one doing all the chores.
Although you did pull you're the one that wanted these cats the other day when we were making the bed because they both were being little shitheads, jumping up, attacking the sheets when we were trying to make the bed.
Yeah.
And Adam's like, you wanted this.
Yeah, it was our little kitten just always up there. And then like so our kitten jumps up there like while you're trying to even out the sheet, she gets under.
Yeah.
And then she's covered and starts like making her little crying noises. And so I go to like noogie her over the sheet, like she's still under the sheet, and I'm like, this is what you get for being under the sheet, and I like rub her a little rough, and she's like, like, she's like, she starts really like, stop,
Dad, quit.
And so then we pull back the sheets, and she doesn't want to jump away. And so so then you tried to grab her, and she started biting you, and you're like, this is what she was biting me because you riled her up, and
You did rile her up.
I was like, well, I was like, you can't try to grab her. She's gonna bite you if you try to grab her. I was like, you gotta smack her behind just a little tap. A little tappy tap.
It literally is like if
On
you
her
go to
flanks.
touch her even when you're not even touching her yet. Like if you go to reach your hand towards her, she cries like you're gonna fucking wail on her because she doesn't want to get off the bed.
Yeah.
Little a-hole.
Yeah, it's not like she was abused. We got her as like a baby kitten.
Yeah.
Like she might have been the runt of the litter, but she's not.
She got a big old attitude.
Yeah. Got that baby the family attitude.
Shut up. Don't hate just because you wait. That sounds like a jealous middle child to me.
Oh, yeah. Totally. Definitely a middle child.
You are a middle child.
Yeah.
Like, just throw the bot. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Well, in today's episode, because we are a podcast that talk about things and not just our weird personal things.
And not just ramble on and on and on about our personal lives.
I mean, we do that too, but we are continuing our coverage of the Amityville tragedy, and today we're actually going to be discussing the haunting that supposedly followed the tragic deaths of the DeFeo family, which we covered in our last 2 episodes. Excuse me. Last 2 minus the bloopers.
Yeah.
But before we get into today's case, I have a question for you, babe.
Lay it on me. I'm ready.
Okay. Now, you watched the 2005 Amityville horror remake with our pal Ryan Reynolds.
Yep, our good buddy.
Deadpool.
Yep, yeah.
Everybody's husband's halls pass. So outside of that movie, did you have any frame of reference about this story? I know that you said that you didn't know about the murders, but what about the haunting itself?
Well, I knew that it was like tied to like a creepy looking house.
Okay.
I think that's the extent of it. Like
Okay.
Amityville, creepy looking house. Like I don't know if there was like a book cover or anything with like, or if it's the movie poster with like
The house windows.
the big windows that kind of look like eyes,
Yep.
right? Yes, that's the extent of it.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So,
Did you know that it was based on a true story? Supposedly.
no, I don't think I did.
Okay.
I mean, maybe the movie was like based on a true story, but
Well, the movie's
prior,
based on a book that's based on a true story.
yeah,
Supposedly.
yeah.
I say supposedly because I have reservations about this whole thing.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're a little.
And I believe in ghosts and I believe in hauntings, but I think that maybe this one was a little bit leaned into. But we'll get into it.
Okay.
So, just a quick recap from our last two episodes. Ronald Butch DeFeo murdered his entire family, which included his mom, dad, two sisters, and two brothers, all younger than him, in November of 1974. He was convicted of the crimes in November of 1975 and received several life sentences. Now, in December of 1975, just a month after Butch's conviction, the infamous home of the DeFeos, nicknamed High Hopes, was purchased by George and Kathy Lutz. The couple and their 3 children would only last 28 days in the Amityville home before fleeing with not much more than the clothes on their backs. So let's talk about it.
Oh, that's what we're talking about.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So I do want to preface this entire episode by saying there's a ton of conflicting information. Because the haunting itself is so disputed, even today, the validity of the haunting is highly contested. So I'm going to give you... Oh, what were you going to say?
No, I was just dropping them.
Oh, yeah.
Interesting.
So I'm going to give you the story of that the Lutzes told, and then I'm going to go over any claims that have been refuted, disputed, whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, it's a popular spot for like ghost hunters and stuff.
Oh, for sure. Lots of people. But...
Yeah. Yeah.
We're also going to talk about, it's funny you say that because we do touch on the Warrens for a hot minute.
Okay.
Which are, their...
Old favorites.
Well, I don't know. I feel like I'm not...
Gordon and Lorraine.
Ed and Lorraine. Gordon. Where the heck did you get Gordon?
I don't know. Plucked it out of the air.
We will talk about them. They're a well-known paranormal research couple, paranormal investigative couple.
Yeah.
They have both since passed. There are some questions to how valid a lot of their stuff was, and there's some things. They're also, at this point, pretty controversial for a few different things, but we're not going to go too much into them because like literally we could do multiple episodes on just them. But they're connected to like the Annabelle universe, the Conjuring universe. Like they investigated those types of cases. So, but we will go into that a little bit more.
Yeah.
But let's start with the Lutz family and how the story of the hauntings came about.
Okay.
So, Kathy and George Lutz were married in either 1974 or 1975. I could not find an exact date. They had 3 kids. No, these were actually Kathy's kids from a previous marriage.
Okay.
Christopher, Daniel, and Missy. I also saw that George was previously married as well, but I don't think that he had any biological children that I could see. I will say, like, again, there's so much conflicting information. There are articles that refer to the kids as like Lutz as their last name.
Yeah.
There's another last name in there. So, but I don't think that he ever adopted the kids, but you know.
But they were married, right?
They were married. George and Kathy were married. So it could be one of those things where the kids, like, I have a friend that I know that like went by his stepdad's last name. He like hyphenated it, but he never actually legally changed his name. So, yeah.
Yeah.
So the
Government name changes are a little weird sometimes.
As somebody that has had to change my name legally, it's a lot.
Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but if you're a good, happy family, you're like, yep, we're the Lutzes.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly. And this was the 70s, too, so things were a little different back then. Like, you know, maybe they didn't want to know that there was like
My phone away.
a stepdad or whatnot. You know,
Oh yeah,
could be something to that extent. Maybe they didn't have a relationship with their real dad. You just never know.
Yeah.
Because it's hard to find any information about them themselves. It's all about the haunting.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So the newly blended family were searching for a home to settle into domestic bliss. They were looking for a house in the $30,000 to $50,000 range, but when they found the Amityville home, they couldn't pass it up. Now the house was sold for $80,000, which was about $30,000 more than the top end of their budget. But they thought they could make it work. George thought he could do surveying out of the house. He had a boat, and the home had a private boat dock. So
yeah, it was a nice house, right?
Really nice house, yeah. So he figured, that could save him money. Like, they thought they could make it work. Which, that's a big difference. But, hey, when you're young and dumb and...
Not a great decision after how many days?
28 days.
Yeah. 29th day, really regretting paying that extra $30,000.
Well, I don't know. We'll talk about it.
I mean, unless they were able to sell it for more or something, but yeah.
No.
Cash in on that ghost.
I was going to say, I think there may have been some motive behind it. But anyways.
What's that new movie with David Harbour?
So We Have a Ghost?
Yeah, So We Have a Ghost,
or something.
Right? Yeah.
I have been seeing so many people talk about how that's like David Harbour's like greatest performance, and he doesn't have a single line.
Oh yeah.
And they're like, I bawled my fucking eyes out. How can I bawl my fucking eyes out at a comedy? And I'm like, I have cried at a lot of comedy movies.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they're heartwarming.
Okay.
We haven't watched it yet, but
we
it's on
haven't
our
watched
list.
it yet. Yeah.
Yeah. We still have to finish The Last of Us, which we need to watch.
We need to catch up. Yeah, we need to catch up.
I'm ready. You say the fucking word, bro.
Yeah.
Let go.
Tomorrow we start while it's light out.
No, I have to edit tomorrow.
Wednesday when we start when it's light out.
Okay. All right. We can probably get one episode in.
He'll be back from the vet.
Yes. Yeah. Our poor baby has to get some teeth pulled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's gonna need some loving.
Lots of loving. And we're gonna need to run interference on little bits.
Yep.
To leave him the fuck alone.
Yep.
But anyways.
Should get her a cone.
We should get her a cone. She needs one. So back to the Lutz family.
Yeah.
They bought this house that was, quite a bit out of their price range. Yeah. But, so I actually did the conversion.
Ooh. Yeah.
What was that?
I was just going to say, sorry, you were in the middle of a thought.
No,
I'm
it's
sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, as someone who's house hunted and had to go over budget, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I feel this is very, ironic thing to say, considering how little time they spent there, but it's like, you go over budget for a place that you see a future in. Right. Agreed. Yeah. So I think that more adds to the tragedy of them leaving the place. If it had all these amenities and you mentioned that, what's the dad's name? George was like, oh, we could do these things. I can do this out of here, Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah. So I will say for a reference, I did the conversion. So $80,000 in 1974 is just under $445,000 in today's money. Okay. Now for reference, today it is currently estimated to be worth over just $1 million. Yeah. Yeah. So they got a smoking deal on that house. Yeah. 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 Because it was still a site of murder. Well, yeah. And they were aware. They were aware before buying the house that the murders had taken place there. Okay. So it wasn't like Beetlejuice where they got gussied up? No. No, it wasn't. Okay. So the Lutz family got that house for a hell of a deal, like I said, which could have been why they decided to take the chance, because even though they knew it's where the DeFeo massacre had taken, you're getting a lot of house for essentially half of what it's worth. Yeah. Maybe they were planning on making more babies. Perhaps. It was the 70s. People are fucking. When you say it like that, it sounds more like they bought the extra room for their sex dungeon or their key party. There is a show called
Build Me a Sex Room or something on Netflix.
Yeah.
I've heard him talk about. It's pretty.
Is it risque?
I mean, it's Netflix, so it's not like they're like. It.
Straight porn.
No, it's not. But there are things that I'm like, huh. I didn't know they made that kind of thing. They do. They
You
make
have to
all
cut
kind
all
of
this.
things.
I feel like this is just side tangent that's not going to make the main topic.
So let's talk a little bit about this property because, like we said, it is like
Smoking.
primo, right?
Yeah. Worth $1 million now?
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
And it was sold for about, in today's money, half of that.
Yeah.
Less than half of that.
Yeah.
So it had a private boathouse on the Amityville Creek and a heated in-ground pool.
In-ground pool. Okay.
Yeah, which was outside, but in-ground.
Yeah.
Which was like my dream as a kid. Like I grew up poor, but I was like, God, you know what would be like? You know how you know you're fucking rich is if you have a pool. Like if you have an in-ground pool.
I was going to say above ground pool is still kind of...
Above ground pools are expensive.
Yeah.
So, I mean, just having a pool means you've, like,
Yeah.
made it in life, in my mind. Especially as a kid, like,
Yeah.
that was, like, the dream. Because I love to be in the water. You know that, so...
I had we had an above ground pool when I was growing up.
Did you? Like one of the big ones? Like the bigger
It was
ones?
it was like hard plastic green in the shape of a turtle.
Nah. Like one of those, like, kiddie waiter pools with shit?
Yes, exactly like one of the kiddie waiter pools. You knew exactly the style I was talking about.
Did you guys fill it up with sand in the winter?
I don't think we did.
Oh.
No. No. Went up in the rafters of the garage.
How long did you guys play in that until you were in high school?
No.
So...
Got you, go fucker.
Oh, you got me.
Okay.
The home itself was about 3,600 square feet. It has 5 bedrooms, 3.5 baths, and sits on about 1/4 of an acre. It was built in 1927 by the Moynihan family, who lived there up until selling it to the DeFeos in 1965.
Okay.
So I do want to point out the Moynihan family never reportedly had any type of paranormal experience whatsoever.
Okay.
Just
Yeah, that's key,
caveat.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But back to the Lutz family. They had just gotten the smoking deal in the house, and they were ready to start their dream life out on Ocean Avenue. So here's something kind of weird. The home also included most of the DeFeo family furniture, which was included in the sale of the house.
Okay.
Now, this is kind of morbid, but as someone who enjoys antiques and like garage sales, I kind of get it. And if you have 3 small kids, any help you can get is appreciated, right?
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's another reason you overpay for the house. Comes fairly furnished.
Well, and with such a big house, it would likely cost a small fortune to furnish the house.
Yeah, exactly.
But they like kept the same beds that the family was murdered in.
Yeah, did they at least flip the mattress?
So I think
I guess I could see the bedposts, keeping the bedposts if they're fancy.
Yeah, but that's like, oh my God. Like, you know me, I think that sometimes like objects can hold on to energy, especially if it's something so traumatic. Like,
Yeah.
That's how you get ghosts, you know?
Yeah.
I did see that like the kids' beds, I want to say, were the same mattresses. Now, again, some of this could just be made up and people are like,
Yeah,
dramatizing what really happened, but
yeah.
they did keep a lot of the furniture. It was included in the sale house because obviously the DeFeos weren't going to be using it. Obviously. And Butch is in jail, so he ain't getting shit.
Yeah.
So, a good deal's a good deal. But they did take some precautions since the home may have carried bad vibes. They had a priest come out to bless the home before they moved in. Can't be too careful, am I right?
Okay.
Now, according to the Lutz's account, the priest that came to bless the house encountered a malevolent spirit almost immediately, with some sources reporting that he heard a voice telling him to get out, and other sources saying that he was slapped. The priest was, when he came out to bless this home.
Yeah. Are the Lutz's Catholic? Is he just trying to get him to convert? Like
I think they were Catholic, actually.
I mean, I would think they're Catholic if they're asking a priest to come out and bless the house.
Yeah. But other religions do that. Like, you can have other religions come out and bless a place.
Yeah,
Say
depending
a
on the
prayer.
religion.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like it might be a little weird to move to a place, contact the local Catholic church, and just ask the...
Randomly, like,
Right.
hey, yo.
Right.
Yeah.
Hey, we don't plan on coming to your church, but can you take time out of your day to come to our new house?
Mm-hmm. And
New to
bless it
us.
because lots of people died in there.
Yeah. Bless
Really
it, 'cause
violently.
yeah, you know, we just want some good juju.
Mm-hmm. So despite all that, the family still moved in. Although if they had already purchased the house, like, they really wouldn't have a choice, you know.
Well, yeah, they don't let you do things like bless a house before you buy it.
You bless it, you bought it.
Don't
Now,
come in here sprinkling your holy water.
your holy water and your Jesus.
Yep.
Now remember, they only stayed 28 days, so it's safe to say things probably started off pretty hot and heavy in the home. Almost immediately, strange smells would permeate different areas of the home. The home was also reported to be freezing cold, always, despite every effort to heat up the giant home. The fire was constantly burning, but they could never get it hot enough, which also is what they show in the Amityville movie, the remake. Now,
Yeah.
full disclosure, I have not watched the original one.
Okay.
I've just watched the one with Ryan Reynolds. And I tried reading the book that is written by Jay Anson. It's a tough read.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Like, too descriptive or just doesn't flow very well?
It doesn't flow very well in my mind.
Okay.
And also, it feels very... I don't know. It was really hard to get into.
Okay.
Yeah. It was one of those books that I kept picking up and I just could not get into it.
Oh.
It was also reported that George began to wake up every morning around 3:15 a.m., which is significant. 3 a.m. is considered the witching hour, and this is also the time believed to be prime for paranormal activity. And 3:15 is when the police believe Butch started a rampage against his family.
Yeah, but he went to a bar.
No, that was after the next day.
Okay.
The next evening.
Okay.
Yeah.
I did remember that.
You did remember he went to a bar.
I remembered he went to a bar.
Yeah. So they also, the Lutz family also reported the normal haunting go-tos, unexplained knocking, doors opening, closing on their own accord, furniture moving, etc.
Okay.
There was also reports of slime oozing out of keyholes and floorboards.
That's like a really aggressive haunting, isn't it?
Uh-huh. And there are several different versions of what the goo looked like. They've described it as red, green, black.
White.
Not that kind of goo. So it's hard to say what the oozing substance really was.
Okay.
As the days went on, the activity intensified, as it does.
Yeah.
There were reports that a pig with red eyes appeared through the windows of the house. The daughter of the Lutz family, Missy, claimed that this was her imaginary friend named Jody, which, if you were ever on the fence about having kids, they say creepy shit like this all the time. Keep it in mind.
A pig?
Like a pig-like creature with glowing red eyes.
Okay. That's her imaginary friend.
Yep, that they reported seeing peering in through the windows.
Okay. Yeesh.
There was also reports that George stopped keeping up on his personal hygiene and grooming, which that might explain the strange smells that they were experiencing in the house. George might have been pretty ripe.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Just defecating wherever.
No, I'm saying like his pit stink.
No, I know. That doesn't take 28 days. It's like 3.
3 max.
Yeah.
I also saw a report that like the family's health was kind of in bad shape while they lived there. Just feeling like rough, under the weather, not in good spirits, which if you're being oppressed like that, your health's probably gonna factor into that.
Yeah. Maybe there was like some hallucinogens.
Maybe there was like mold in the house and that's what was causing that.
Right.
I mean, that does happen. people get sick from their houses, and it's because there's a mold problem.
Yeah.
So there was also an incident where apparently Kathy levitated off the bed, and she also transformed into what can only be described as an old hag. Now, this was reported by George.
Yeah.
And the family also reported that the two boys were levitating off the bed. George was being held down. Pretty much just massive chaos. Like George was being held down and you could hear like the kids' beds like slamming against the ground. Some articles I read said that Kathy levitating off the bed was the last straw, and that was the reason the Lutz family fled. However, other articles reported that this happened multiple times, so do with that what you will.
Yeah.
Now, the family also made multiple attempts to reach out to the local priest that had come to bless the home, or a local priest. It doesn't specify. There's some disputes over who was the priest that came in, you know. I think in the movies it's the same one. It may be the same one.
Yeah.
But if he got slapped, I would be like, no, move. I'm not coming back out there.
Right.
But they did attempt to reach out to a local priest, but the phone line would die every time they called the local parish.
So skeptical of all this stuff. I gotta be honest.
Yeah.
Like,
now this one is part of the movies and in a few articles, but if you kept getting cut off after a few times, like, drive to the place. Like, you're not cut off from the world. Just drive to the fucking church.
right?
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But that's just my opinion. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds. Yeah. It sounds.
It's an option. It's not like you're stuck there. You can just drive.
Well, if the phone doesn't work, the car's probably not going to start.
Yeah, I mean, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, yeah. It's,
Maybe they claimed that too, and I just didn't see it.
no, it's fair. I mean, it's. I feel like all this is so fantastical that, like, it's like every ghost story I've ever heard wrapped into one.
Mm-hmm. You're not wrong. So the tension in the home was slowly building. Fighting was like at an all-time high. Like George and Kathy weren't getting along. The kids were like, I've seen some reports say that like George was physically abusive towards the kids. I wasn't ever able to substantiate that, but again, this is the 70s. Like, people beat on their kids all the
time. Big yawn. Oh.
So, you know, basically at this point, the family's on the verge of exploding because they've been experiencing this for a couple weeks.
Yeah.
And it sounds like the family was being oppressed. Like, you know, we talk about the different levels of, like, demonic possession, oppression, you know, all that. It sounds like they were being oppressed because it was, like, hot and heavy from the start. Like, it was intense activity.
Yeah. Which, I mean, to be fair, adds a... Sorry to keep interrupting.
No, it's okay.
It's been a while since we recorded. Old habits.
It's okay.
I was going to say, the fact that it did start right away... in my mind, lends some credibility that it didn't, like, take a while, it
wasn't a slow burn.
Wasn't a slow burn, you know?
Yeah.
It was, like, right away there, well, something's wrong here, you know? Overpaid for this fucking house.
Yeah. I got more than I paid for.
Yeah.
So, like we said in the beginning, after 28 days, the Lutz family left the house at 112 Ocean Avenue with little more than the clothes on their backs. And I will say... that they went to, I saw that they went to Kathy's mother's house to stay.
Okay.
They did hire, I saw one article said that they hired a mover to get their stuff back, and he's like, yeah, nothing happened when I was in there.
Oh, like somebody did go in, moved all their
like
stuff.
Like a mover went in to get their stuff and was like, yeah, nothing happened.
Yeah. It's because you don't live here.
Yeah, exactly.
You didn't stay the night.
So after this happened, you know, the Lutz family's kind of in a bind. Like, they still own this house.
Yeah. Now you want to try to sell, but it's haunted?
Yeah, you're like, we just bought this house. It's been a month. We're now putting it back on the market. Why are you putting it back on the market? Well, you know, there's some things and stuff.
I'd try to get your money back from your sale more than try to sell it yourself.
Yeah.
Be like, hey, look, like there was stuff going on wrong, blah, 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 like less than 30 days, you know?
Yeah. But I don't think that was the motivation behind all of this, to be honest. So this is where the Warrens come in. So, Ed and Lorraine Warren are famous or infamous paranormal investigators. Ed was a self taught demonologist, and Lorraine was a light trance medium and a clairvoyant. Now, they founded the New England Society for Psychic Research and claim to have investigated upwards of 10,000 paranormal cases. There's a lot of dispute about that.
10,000's a lot.
That's what everybody says. Like 10,000 is so much. There's a lot of dispute, and people don't believe that they investigated that much.
I'm just doing the math on how many
cases a year you'd have to do, right?
Well, yeah. So if you did one case every day for a year, that's only 365.
Mm-hmm.
So 10 years is 3,650.
And they were active for, 30,
So you
40
multiply that
plus
by
years.
3.
But they're literally, that would be like them investigating a new case every day nonstop for like 20, 30, 40 years.
Yeah, it's literally somewhere between like 25 and 30 years.
Yeah.
10,000.
New case every day.
Yeah, because we said 3,650. 3,000 times 3 is, yeah. So, yeah. A new case every day for at least 25 years.
Doesn't seem plausible.
Yeah. Even if you did go for 40 years,
Yeah. Some of their most famous cases included the Amityville home, Annabelle, which is the haunted doll,
Yep.
the Enfield poltergeist, and on and on. Which these are all on our list, and we will go over them.
Okay.
They also created a museum of the occult that contains souvenirs from many of their investigations, haunted objects. Fun fact, their nephew, John Zaffis, was on a show called Haunted Collector that I used to freaking love and did not know about the Warrens, a long time ago. And then I realized that he was their nephew, and I was like, oh shit, it runs in the family. I loved the Haunted Collector, if anybody watched it.
Okay. Or the grift is real.
Yeah. Well, however, in recent years, the validity of their investigations have come into question. There are claims that the couple were nothing more than frauds who fabricated hauntings in order to profit from them. Now, I have a theory on things like this, and I think this applies to a lot of things in life, people, situations, whatnot. I think initially they probably were doing it for, the reasons that they touted. Like, they wanted to help people, they wanted to,
Yeah.
genuinely make people's lives better. But you realize there's a market for things like this, and you sometimes can get a little greedy, or, you need to make it, you need to sensationalize it because you need to make a profit off of it.
Yeah. I also worry that it's like the people experiencing or thinking they're experiencing stuff.
Mental health issues.
Well, yeah, it's like mental health issues, easy predatory, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like think of the Lutzes. If like 2 weeks into it, you feel like you're experiencing stuff, and then somebody came along and was like, "Oh, we're like paranormal investigators, we'll help." It's like, how much money are you willing to throw at so that they can help you, so that you don't lose out on your $80,000 house? You know what I mean?
So I do want to point out the Lutzes had already moved out before
Yeah.
the Warrens got involved.
Yeah.
And the Warrens also never charged for their investigations.
Okay.
They made profit off of the books and stories and movies that came out of
Okay.
what they were doing.
So they profited from the sensationalism.
Pretty much, yeah. But that's a 2 cent breakdown of the Warrens. Like I said,
Okay.
we could do multiple episodes on them alone.
Whole episodes.
Yeah, and that's just their professional life. We didn't get into the stuff about their personal life and all of the drama there. So yes. So in the weeks, I saw that it was the weeks following the Lutz's departure, or in the few months following after the Lutzes were gone. I'm not 100% sure when. The Warrens came in to investigate the house in Amityville. Now, they, along with several other investigators, spent time in the house and claimed to encounter the spirits and demons that the Lutz family were said to have been tortured by. Lorraine even claimed to see Ron DeFeo Sr. in the house and was terrified by him. The team also claimed to encounter other dark presences in the home and believed that the house was indeed haunted. Now, the Warrens also claimed that the land was previously inhabited by a local Native American tribe, and the sick, injured, mentally ill were housed there on the land where the home eventually stood. Although most of the articles I read debunked this and said that that was not the case. Like, that was not a Native American
Yeah.
burial ground. It was not a previous Native American, haunting or like
Home
home
for,
housing thing, whatever.
yeah.
Um, the investigation by Ed and Lorraine also yielded one of the most well-known photos that claim to be proof of ghosts. So we will put it up on our socials for everybody to see.
Okay,
It
yeah, I
is a
don't think I've
genuinely
seen.
creepy photo,
Yeah,
but again, I'm on the fence.
yeah. People try to debunk it,
Yeah, it just
recreate how it could happen.
I just don't know.
Okay.
Um,
So did the Warrens come in after they sold it? I know the Lutzes left,
no, they still
but
own
do the
it.
Lutzes still own it?
The
Yeah.
Lutzes still own it.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Um,
So I'm clear on that. Okay.
yep.
So you also said that Lorraine saw the patriarch, right?
Mm-hmm. Butch DeFeo Sr.
Butch
Or
DeFeo
sorry,
Sr.
Ron DeFeo Sr.
Ron DeFeo Sr.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
And if I remember right, he was like the claims were he was abusive.
Yeah, he wasn't a nice guy from what most
Right.
reports say.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean,
Sounds like he still wasn't in death.
yeah,
What she was saying is true.
yeah, it kind of makes sense a little bit to me, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
if yes, murdered by son, that anger, like we've talked about that, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
his ghost or his for whatever would probably be the least likely to accept like that was the outcome, like that's how you died.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which we've talked about, like how hauntings, types of hauntings, ghosts type that. I'm not saying that this is true or anything, but like when we apply like logic to it,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, maybe maybe dear old dad still running around haunting, and if he wasn't a nice guy, his hauntings wouldn't be very nice.
Or somebody knew the story and was like, "Ooh, you know what? If a dad was murdered and he was an asshole, we could just say he's still an asshole," and scared me.
Right.
Again, I'm not. I guess it does sound like I'm saying that their warrants are full of shit. I don't know for sure. I
Yeah.
definitely think that this whole thing was sensationalized because of the house being what it was.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, people trying to turn a buck off of that type of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You could have, maybe even in the time between the murders and the sale to the Lutzes,
Which was
people.
only a year.
Yeah, it's only a year, which is kind of like I would have expected maybe a little more.
I would feel like it'd have to be in
A
like
little
escrow
more
for a
time.
while. Like, family would have to like that selling a house like that in a year, that's a pretty quick turnaround for a house that's how
Well,
long was it tied up just being investigated?
well, wasn't it a year from his conviction?
No, so he killed his family in 1974. He was
Okay.
convicted in 1975, November of 1975. The
Okay.
Lutzes moved in December of 1975.
Oh, so a month later.
A month
Okay,
after he was
I missed that.
convicted.
I thought it was like a year later.
No, 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 no.
So a month after conviction, almost a year from the murders.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which is like I almost want to say like it's until he's convicted, like technically he might be
Beneficiary and
the beneficiary like in the house is his until he's convicted,
fair. Fair.
So in which case like somebody was ready to pounce on it as soon as he gets convicted, if that's the case, or maybe he gave up ties to it. I don't, you could have something like that. He did have drug problems, right?
Yeah.
That's what we talked about. So,
well, and saying that too, like I said, he was convicted and sentenced. He may have been convicted like a few months earlier. I can't remember off the top of my head.
yeah.
And then he was convicted, or he was then sentenced. So the sentencing may have been December. I think he was
Okay.
sentenced in December. So, or
Sentenced
excuse
in
me, in
December.
November of
Yeah,
75.
Okay.
So he probably had been convicted. I can't remember. It's been so
Yeah.
long since I looked at the last one because it's been like a month since we've recorded.
Yeah. But anyway, it's like we're saying less than a year and a half since the murders.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, yeah, it's real quick. I guess like
Real fresh.
yeah. So you got like realtors trying to move that house.
Oh yeah.
you know? And so it's like, I mean, if you already have predatory people like that, you might have predatory people trying to like set up things in the house to make people freak out about it. Yeah.
I think you're right on the nose there.
So,
Um, Now, you may have noticed, and I've repeatedly said it, but, allegedly there's lots of dispute about what happened. So I'm going to tell you about the disputes that
okay.
came about
Yeah.
after the haunting and whatnot.
Perfect.
So, first off, the Lutz family was involved in several lawsuits following the publishing of the Amityville Horror, which was a book by Jay Anson that was published in September of 1977. George and Kathy had met with William Weber, and now, if that name sounds familiar, you're right, because William Weber was the attorney who represented Butch DeFeo in his murder trial.
Hmm.
According to Weber, the three of them, so George, Kathy, and William, came up with the story of the haunting over several bottles of wine. Now, I have questions. First being, why was the Lutz family working with Butch's lawyer in the first place?
Yeah.
Weber was in the process of trying to get an appeal for Butch, and he was actually shopping around for a book deal about the thing, about the
Okay.
case. And if he was working on an appeal for Butch, and they could prove, like, sensationalize that the house was haunted and caused all this this family only lasted 28 days in this massively haunted demonic place, that may lend more credence to the voices in his head telling him what to do. Defense, right?
Yeah. And it could also explain how they were able to buy a house so much above their budget.
Ooh, that's a good point. I never even thought of that. That's
If the
very good.
lawyer shuttled some money their way so they could buy the house.
Ooh, that's a good. That's a very good point.
Yeah.
So, for example, they like embellished things that had been happening. One, one thing that most of the articles talked about was the family noticed that a stray cat had been peeking in their windows, and that's where the basis for the red-eyed pig named Jody came from. Things like that. Like they literally said that they took everyday experiences and like embellished them and created this
Yeah.
massive um, stories of all this crazy shit happening
Yeah.
based on things that were happening.
Yeah.
So next, the author of the Amityville horror book, Jay Anson, never really spoke on whether or not he believed that the story the Lutzes told was true. He
Okay.
wrote his book based on hours and hours of taped interviews from the Lutz family. But his book was extremely popular, as we know, and it resulted in multiple movies, remakes, additional books, pretty much a whole like franchise of Amityville.
Yeah.
So the story was extremely profitable, and this caused a lot of issues for George and Kathy. They were sued by William Weber for the money that they made in the books off of the books in the movie because he helped him create it, so he should get part of that profit, right? Like, um,
I mean,
they they also so the Lutzes also filed $1 million suit against Weber, but it was dismissed. In a Washington Post article, the judge that presided over the lawsuit against the Lutzes by Weber was quoted as saying, "It appeared to me that a large extent of the book is a work of fiction."
yeah.
Um,
And that's somebody whose profession is discernment.
Judging people.
I mean, technically, you should be discerning the law and judging based on laws, but maybe if it's a civil court, it's all about deciding who's telling the truth and who's not, you know?
Yeah. Um, so the Lutzes and Weber settled out of court, and nobody knows what the settlement was.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Pretty good NDAs or.
I don't know. Not anything that I've seen. I'm assuming Weber got money because A, he was a lawyer, and B, like,
Right.
eh,
Like paying himself to. Did he represent himself?
probably, like, that saves you so much money,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And I would also like to point out that the Lutz family filed a lawsuit against a writer named Paul Hoffman, who the Lutz family claimed had been working with Weber, and the family had fallen out with Weber due to the money dispute. Um, Hoffman wrote an article about the house, and so they like claimed it as libel. They did a libel suit against him, or excuse
Okay.
me, they sued him for I can't remember what it was. I didn't write it down. I must have been really tired when I was writing this. Because I remember bits and pieces, but I did not write it down.
Yeah.
I'm terrible.
Yeah. You're not terrible.
So here's another thing, though. The family really liked to sue people.
Right? I'm kind of picking that up a little here.
In 2005, George Lutz filed a libel suit against the makers and producers of the Amityville remake, Amityville Haunting.
Yeah.
With our pal Ryan.
Yeah.
He claimed that they had portrayed him as homicidal. I wasn't able to find out what came of this lawsuit, but like I said, it brings up a great point about them.
Right.
They were struggling financially when they moved into this house. It was way out of their original budget, and after everything went down, they did financially benefit from the books and movies. And it could be a motive as to why the events of the home may have been exaggerated.
Right.
They may have realized quickly that they had gotten over their head with their dream home, and they needed to make back their money in some way. Or they could have bought the house with the intention of creating this sensational story about what happened.
Yeah.
Right?
Wouldn't be the first time somebody lied to, like, create some kind of a news story that they would then financially benefit from.
Oh, 100%.
Not the first time. Nor probably the last.
No. So, it's plausible that they made this all up.
Yeah.
The stress and the fame or infamy was just too much for the Lutz family, and in 1980, or in the 80s, George and Kathy divorced. Now, I will say, the home was foreclosed on in 1977. So they had it for like 3 years. It was foreclosed on because they were not paying on it.
Yeah.
Now, 1977 was also when the book came out. So I'm assuming that they hadn't got their payday yet.
Yeah. Sounds right.
Yeah.
It also feeds a little into, if you're going to try to make money off of it, like, why would you keep paying for it? Why would you keep the property? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, if the story is, it freaked you out so bad you don't ever want to go back.
Yeah.
Why would you ever keep paying on it? You know what I mean? Like, it might have been part of it to sell the story,
Yeah.
Maybe the book came out around the time that they knew the foreclosure was going to happen. You know what I mean? It's a way to, like, drum up.
Like, we struggled to keep this property that was so terrible. Like, we were trying to make it work, and it was poor us,
Yeah, right? Become the martyr.
Yeah. I question the motive of everybody involved in this, honestly.
Yeah.
Besides the author. I think the author was just like, yeah, these people are fucking crazy. This is a crazy story. I'm going to tell it. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah,
And
right?
he did take liberties with what was in the book, as most writers do.
Yeah.
Unless you're like it's labeled nonfiction and you're like doing investigative reporting. I think which is not the case with this book, I don't think.
Right, yeah. He wasn't like the biography of the Lutzes.
Yeah.
He was like, I'm going to retell the sensational story, add my own little embellishments.
I mean, they made it up. I can make up more. No, just
right?
kidding.
I mean, that's kind of where I'd come from,
Yeah. So back to the Lutzes, like we said, in the 80s, George and Kathy were divorced. I wasn't able to find for sure when they got divorced.
Okay.
Sometime in the 80s.
Okay. When the kids were all grown up and out of the house.
Not really. Because they moved in 75.
Yeah.
So that's,
For late 80s?
Yeah, it could be. I mean, it could be. Now, I will say that they never changed their stories and claim that the events really did happen the way they described. Up until their deaths. And they have both since passed away.
Yeah, even divorced, you think maybe that would be like...
One would turn on the other.
One would turn on the other, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
But maybe it was a gravy train for both of them, even after divorce. Who knows?
It could be. While George and Kathy never recanted, Kathy's son Christopher has come out and said, while the house was haunted, it was not like what the books and movies portrayed and what his parents said.
Yeah.
Christopher has also claimed that George was very much into the occult and that his actions contributed to the activity in the home.
Like he was inviting shit?
Yeah, like he said that George was very much like borderline obsessed with like the occult and things like that. And so he was, which could be another reason if he was obsessed with the occult, why he would want to buy that house.
Yeah.
Right?
Why do you buy a murder house? Because you love the occult.
Yeah. I watched American Horror Story.
Yeah.
Now, you're going to be surprised by this.
Will I?
But Christopher's comments actually resulted in a lawsuit brought on by his former stepfather.
I'm gonna sue you!
George was real Sue happy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Christopher is the only
Tell me you
kid.
got a little dick without telling me you got a little dick.
Yeah. Christopher is the only child of Kathy's who has discussed the case.
Okay.
So, that is the Amityville Haunting in a nutshell. Adam, what are your thoughts? Because I have a lot.
You have a lot?
I have a lot.
Did you go into the part about Weber trying to use that to, like, get what's-his-face off? I think you touched on it, but
Yes.
was there more to that at all? I mean, I'm assuming that appeal didn't go through.
It did not. He did several appeals like we talked about in the last two episodes, or in the Amityville episodes.
Yeah.
He became so embroiled in, like, the other controversy surrounding it with the Lutzes.
Yeah.
That I think to me, it feels like it was to the detriment of Butch's case.
Right.
Because they're now fighting over the house itself, and, you know, we have people saying it was fake, it wasn't, it wasn't, so it was like, who do you fucking believe? I think money was a factor. Whether it be...
100%. Yeah, I'd almost follow the money here.
Whether it be they thought that they could, like, A, turn a profit on this, or B, they got in over their heads and realized really quickly that they needed to, like, figure a way to get out or to make back some money, so they came up with this haunting story.
Yeah.
I also kind of believe Christopher, and, like, after all that terribleness that happened with the DeVeo family, I'm sure there was something going on, but I don't think it was, like, a Native American burial ground. I don't think it was, like, you know, demons from everywhere coming into this house. It was like a portal, basically, is what some people described it as. Because also, I will say, none of the other people who have lived in this house have ever claimed to have paranormal experiences.
Yeah.
P.S. I looked at the house online on Zillow.
Okay.
It's, like, gorgeous now. They've changed the windows, like those very recognizable windows. They've redone those so people don't... They've also changed the address because they don't want people to find the house.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we talked about that. Yeah. I think we talked about that in the intro, right? About how people live there now.
Yes.
Yeah. Which is kind of silly to me. It's kind of like...
I mean, it's a dope-ass house. And the people have redone it, and it's like... I was like, God, I would live in that house if it wasn't for the murder and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's like... Don't go the priest route, get some sage. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, do something else, give it a paint job, like you say, switch out the windows.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It has an in-ground pool. That is the rich life, baby.
So money. Yeah. But yeah, I think it does. Yeah, it really does smack of, I don't know, an overreach or a planned thing to try to cash in. I mean...
Which is terrible. Such a tragedy. Yeah. You know.
Yeah. It's like, it definitely... The fact that the lawyer and the couple...
That, to me, is the biggest tell. Like, why the hell were they working with him at all?
Yeah.
You know? And the fact that their lawsuit against him got thrown out.
Yeah.
Now, again, they maybe just... William was a better lawyer, but still...
Yeah.
Why would he come out, like, randomly and say, oh, yeah, by the way, we made this up? You know?
Yeah.
I think that they exaggerated anything that may have been going on in the house, and then they got called out on it because Weber's like, where's my fucking money? Like, I want to get paid.
Right.
And George was lawsuit happy.
Yeah.
And several people involved have come out and said it was a hoax.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, like, I don't trust a ton of what the Warrens investigated anymore.
Yeah.
Only because I think they lost sight of what their original, like, goal was. Like I said, like, I think originally they wanted to help people, but then they wanted to cash in on
Yeah. And was this a
cases.
little later in their cases? Like, where did this fall in their stream of? I'm 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 blanking on like when were they actively ghost hunting?
So they started. So they founded the New England Psychic or the New England Society for Psychic Research in 1952. So they've been doing this for about 25 years at this point.
Yeah, yeah. This is like the middle. They're nice and seasoned. They know how to maybe say or turn a phrase to get paid a little.
Lead, lead other
Yeah,
people. Yeah, for sure.
yeah.
I agree.
Whereas had they started like in the 70s,
I think it
different
would
story, right?
lend a little
Like a
bit more
little.
credibility to their
Yeah.
investigations. But, they're, like I said, we could do multiple episodes on the Warrens, and we probably will because I think they have investigated some truly haunted places, and I think that,
Yeah. Hmm.
it's just unfortunate that they kind of lost sight of what they were
Okay.
working
Um.
towards.
Yeah. Final final thoughts. You mentioned a lot of people have checked out this place.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody else. Like you said, the people live there now. They don't claim anything.
Mm-mm.
Ghost hunters, any other famous people get involved and go and be like, oh yeah, it's totally haunted, or no, it's not. Like
Not that
shy
I've
of the
seen,
Warrens, right?
not that
Like
I've seen, only because I think that they're actually trying, like people that are buying the house are trying to keep it out of the limelight.
okay,
So they're not like actively inviting like Zach Baggins to come in and investigate the
right?
house, or
Yeah, that's kind of my question.
yeah, not that I've seen. I do want to say that it sounded like there were multiple paranormal investigators that came in after the Lutzes left.
Okay.
Not all of them said it was haunted. Like
Okay.
some of them, not to the extent that the Warrens claimed.
Yeah.
And also they so I have to tell you.
So it was more like a time period, like late 70s, early 80s, maybe,
Yeah.
before it sold again. Okay.
Well, it was sold in 77 when it was foreclosed on.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. So I'm assuming somebody bought it at auction, is what it sounds like.
Yeah, but then that person was like, "Oh, nothing."
Nope. He said the only problems people have claimed having is other people coming to their lawn, like calling the houses, doing being annoying fucking shitheads.
Yeah, interesting. Okay.
Yep. So I have to say, I read this paper that Ed and Lorraine wrote regarding the house.
Okay.
It was very much like the first half of the paper was them trying to discredit somebody who had tried to discredit them.
Oh.
And talk basically talking shit and talking all of this stuff that they're it to me it lost all validity because they were literally, it was like reading a Facebook fight back and forth. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like that's what it reminded me of.
Yep.
So I just don't know. And
Yeah.
I like a majority of the Conjuring universe. I love those movies. But I'm not 100% sold on the Warrens, how genuine they were towards the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And then my final parting thought, speaking of genuine, did our good pal Ryan Reynolds ever say anything? You know, sometimes when people film movies, they'll be like, "Oh yeah, like weird stuff would happen on set, this or that." I know they probably didn't film at the house, but I'm wondering, did filming the remake or the original did the original movie at all? Did anybody during any of those filmings? You know what I mean? Like when we talked about The Exorcist, it was like freaky things happened on the set of The Exorcist.
Oh, for
right?
sure. Like there's tons of movies that they say are have cursed or issues.
Yeah.
I honestly tried to
from these?
I tried to stay away from looking at anything about the movies because I strictly wanted to focus on the actual the actual Lutzes.
Okay.
And I didn't want to intermingle the case and the movie because there is so much.
Yeah.
There is differentiating information.
Okay.
I want to say.
Maybe I'll get a phone call from my other good buddy Ryan Reynolds. You know.
I want to say, I feel like I remember reading something a long time ago that he did say that weird things happened, but that could just be my mind thinking of another movie where people claimed that weird things happened, you know, like cursed movie sets and whatnot. Yeah. So I can't say for sure.
Yeah.
But maybe I'll look into it before our next episode and we can give you guys an update.
Yeah.
Before then.
Because I do remember from the movie, the idea was he goes homicidal. So the fact that, like, George Lutz actually sued him over, like, the homicidal portrayal.
Yeah.
Is kind of hilarious because, like, that is one of the things I remember about the movie was...
You know what?
Like, him, like, almost, like, full-on, like, The Shining. Like, I swore he was, like, dragging an axe or, like, doing weird stuff where you're like, this dude's gonna kill his family.
Yeah.
You know?
You know what? I want to say, I have seen pictures of George Lutz. He should not have sued anybody because they let Ryan Reynolds portray him. That's the biggest fucking compliment, all right?
Right? They should have got ugly McFuckins.
Fucking A. Ryan McReynolds. Ryan Reynolds with a beard and jacked. He was like bearded and jacked in that fucking movie.
Right?
Like, that was peak Ryan Reynolds for me.
Okay.
I had a crush on him from Sabrina when he played in the Sabrina movie.
Oh.
Back in the day.
Okay.
Sabrina the Teenage Witch movie.
There was a movie?
Yeah, there was a movie before the show.
Oh.
And Ryan Reynolds was in it.
Okay.
He was like Harvey the boyfriend character, I want to say.
Okay.
He was the boyfriend character. I can't remember if it was Harvey or not because it's been a really long time since I watched that movie.
Is it still Melissa Joan Hart?
Yeah, it was Melissa Joan Hart.
I remember the TV show.
And the two
I
ants.
feel like I remember the movie.
Was it the two ants? God, now I'm curious. I'll have to watch it again.
I feel like I remember
I'm going to make you watch it with me.
Yeah, if you find it, I'll be interested.
Yeah.
You know, I don't recall. I thought it was just a pure TV show.
Nope, there was a movie.
Yeah.
With that, we're going to call it a day.
You have to record. I was like, the whole way.
So that is our Amityville Haunting in a nutshell. As always, thank you guys for listening, and don't forget to subscribe and download our show, as well as leaving us a rating or review on whatever platform you're listening. All of these things actually help us become more visible on whatever the platforms, you know, like the more people that download us, the more people we show up to on their algorithms. So help us out. Help a podcast out. You can also help us out by sharing us with your friends, family, social media, strangers in the street, whatnot. Don't talk to creepers though. Do it to people in the line at the grocery store. I always end up chatting with people at the line at the grocery store, I swear.
Oh, I hate talking to people in the line at the grocery store.
Well, when your cashier is trying to learn another language while she's checking you out, you have to help. You have to just be patient. That happened today.
Oh.
The person in front of me was trying to help this woman speak, I think it was Taiwanese, but I'm not 100% sure.
Okay.
And then they were very chatty. And then the lady that was talking to the cashier was chatting with me. It was a very social grocery store visit.
Sounds like one very extroverted person
Yep.
exerting their extrovertedness on...
They just forced it, and I had to stand there while it happened to me. But yeah, share us with your friends and family. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. We also have our website, which is creepycascadiapod.com. You can send us an email with your own tales of encounters with the paranormal, true crime, and that is admin@creepycascadiapod.com. And we also have some business cards and stickers. If you guys want to pass us out, leave us in places. Like, I literally keep putting our business, like a bunch of business cards at our chiropractor's office. And, you know, so let us know. We'll mail you guys some stickers and some business cards for you to hand out. I tried to get Adam, well, you forgot to take him to Comic-Con to hand out on Sunday.
Oh, yeah.
But that's okay.
Yeah.
We'll get it
I
next
did get
year.
a couple of spooky artist cards and gave them to you.
You did.
But
and that's what I
it would have
remembered,
been nice
like,
to give ours
shit,
to them.
I forgot. We were going to send you with cards on Sunday.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I wouldn't have remembered to pass them out.
You were on a mission.
I was on a mission.
Yep. All right, well, we hope everybody has a great week, and we will see you guys back here next week for a new story. Bye.
Bye.